Today we're talking about new store in stores from Disney and Toys R Us. Plus, Sweet Green, the salad chain, is making a big bet on automation. And we're going to be talking about what we learned from our latest back to school shopper survey. All of that, plus the retail challenge right now on everything we know about retail. Hi, my name is James Cook, coming to you from Indiana. Ebere Anokute is in New York City. What's up, Ebere?
Not much, James. How are you doing?
Hanging in there. It's another, what day is it? Thursday? It's another Thursday.
Sure is.
So everyone out there, you're watching Everything We Know About Retail. This is the show where we tell all of you everything we know about retail, 3 things at a time. We have another special guest. She's coming in right now. Her name is Keisha Virtue. Hello, Keisha.
Hi, guys. Really excited to be here.
Keisha is also a retail researcher at JLL. You've got the Retail Research Brain Trust. Not all of us, but a lot of us are here today. There's a critical mass. There's a quorum. Absolutely. We could hold a vote. We have a quorum, so we could hold a vote if we wanted to.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So, Keisha, you're here to talk about the back to school survey that you ran.
That's right.
And we're going to get into that a little bit. You're joining us today from
Moultrie, Georgia.
Sure.
But not for long. Not for long. I'm in the middle of a huge relocation back to South Florida where there's lots of retail, fortunately, for me to explore. So
we're going to get you back to South Florida and you're going to start telling us about what's going on. Apparently COVID never happened in Florida is what I heard. You're gonna experience.
I heard that too. Honestly, I heard that as well.
Apparently so. So we'll see what the environment is when we head back there.
Yeah. Well, Keisha, we're really excited to have you here today. But first, James, tell me, what do you know about retail?
Ebere, here's the first thing that we know about retail. The holiday season is approaching, believe it or not, and retailers are getting ready to duke it out for the kid gift dollars. Ebere, you and I are kidless. I have nephews. Keisha, you have a child. I'm sure you spend an arm and a leg every year.
Oh my goodness.
Right? I'm sure.
Yes, definitely.
So the big thing for the past few years since 2018 is no Toys R Us. They liquidated and it kind of left a vacuum in the US toy market. And since then, I think what it's really meant is growth in market share for three companies, Walmart, Target, and Amazon. But there's still a void. There is a void where Toys R Us once was. Who fills that void? Guys, Toys R Us fills that void. Wow. Toys R Us is back along with Macy's. They've announced some new stores in stores. So they're partnering with the owner of the Toys R Us brand, WHP Global. They've already launched a Toys R Us site, which is powered by Macy's, so the e-commerce website. They're going to roll out over 400 Toys R Us stores, not in time for the holidays this year. It's going to happen next year. But what most importantly this probably means for America is the return of Jeffrey the giraffe.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. We actually had a giant Jeffrey the giraffe in her room, in my daughter's room.
Wow.
Until she started riding it, and now he's kind of just leaned up in the corner. So I'm very excited about the return of Toys R Us.
Well, once you get back to Florida and you're near a Macy's again,
I know, very excited.
You can take your daughter to see Jeffrey the giraffe. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. So that's the Toys R Us void being replaced by store in stores, but that's not all. Also, we've seen a number of Disney stores close. And, these are the stores that a lot of people who grew up in, especially people who grew up in the 90s, really have fond memories of going to the mall. They were often themed. It was like a little slice of Disneyland and Disney World at the mall. Unfortunately, I think partially because of just changing times and partially because of COVID, they've announced they're going to close a lot of those. In fact, they're going to close 60 of those Disney stores, most of them in malls, just this year. That's about a third of them. So the question is, who fills the void left behind by Disney stores? It's Disney. Well, and Target.
There's a theme here I'm seeing. There's a theme.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's close the one store, open a new store in store. So we've been talking about this for a while, that Disney had piloted, or rather Target had piloted some Disney stores in select Target locations. They've announced that they're going to open up another 100 of those by the end of this year. So they did 53 last year. They're going to do another 100 this year. They're 750 square feet. I've now been to one. It's cool. They've got exclusive merch. They've got a little interactive displays, a seating area. Have either of you been to the Disney store in store at a Target? Yeah, Ebere, you're not going to have a reason to go, but
I mean, I have a couple nephews too. I have a couple nephews and nieces too that I try to, buy some gifts for once in a while. But I'm definitely the uncle that buys books instead of toys, so they don't like me as much.
You're my kind of uncle, but our nearest Target is like an hour away, but we do make the pilgrimage from time to time. I don't believe it has a store-in-store Disney. It has a lot of Disney merchandise. Anytime I go with my daughter, she's like, okay, so we're going to go shopping for toys. So, it's already a thing. And I'm sure it's going to become even more of a thing when we have all that, those extra effects and entertainment and that sort of thing.
Yeah, they look great. I think it'll be a lot of fun. One thing that I do notice, and I do enjoy toy shopping, I think it's fun, but during the holiday season, because it is a concentrated area within Target, for example, it's a real S show. Like, it's just an area to avoid unless you really need to go there. And no fault of their own. It's just the holiday season everywhere you go. It's a bunch of craziness.
Absolutely.
I'm sure.
It's so funny to hear, Keisha, that your daughter thinks of Target as a toy store.
Seriously, right? It's a toy store. Yeah. There's no escape. It's just I call it the Target tax. I mean, I'm going with her. We're going to get a toy. Sorry. It's just how it is.
Yeah, it's just interesting to see how they've changed so much over time, right? I feel like Target at first was just kind of like a place for, essentials or just almost anything you wanted. And then one day they had produce. And now it's grocery, and it's a grocery store too. And then now the next generation coming up, I don't know if your daughter can consider Gen Z or whatever's after that, but they're going to think of it as a toy store since there's no Toys R Us's. So just an interesting, company overall.
She's probably Gen A. Yeah.
Oh, did they start over at the top? Is that what they did?
Yeah, they totally did. Mm-hmm.
Really?
Oh my gosh.
That's the term I've seen. So, yeah.
It makes sense. All right. Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about Toys R Us in a little bit. But before we get into that, Ebere, what else do you know about retail?
Well, James, here is the second thing that we know about retail. So I feel like it was just last week that we were talking about Taco Bell and how they were introducing some automated features into some of the new concepts that they're coming out with. I think the theme of that portion of the episode was the robots are winning. And it appears that the robots are still winning. That I'm here to report to you that they're still on top. So
the rise of the machines.
I mean, listen, we're all just holding on for as much as we can. But the newest restaurant or food and beverage user to delve into the automation space is Sweetgreen. So Sweetgreen, which is a fast casual salad chain that I'm personally a very big fan of. I eat Sweetgreen whenever I can. Truly, they don't have them out in Westchester, which is where I'm from. But whenever I'm in the office or in the city, I make it a point to grab at least one bowl, take back home. I really, really love Sweetgreen. That's a slight tangent, but Sweetgreen is acquiring a company called Spice. Spice is an automated restaurant chain based in Boston. They're opened in 2018 and currently have 2 locations in Boston, and they're backed by celebrity chef Daniel Boulud, who's a really big name in the restaurant space. I'm pretty sure he just opened a new restaurant at One Vanderbilt, which is, I'm looking at it out the window of our office at 330 Madison right now. But it is, like I said, an automated restaurant chain. So essentially what they do is they use a conveyor belt lined with robotic dispensers, and they use that in replacement of cooks, and they're able to prepare dishes like salads and other types of bowls. And apparently with this technology, they are able to create as many as 350 salads and grain bowls per hour, which is a really interesting metric. How many grain bowls you can produce per hour? I can probably 1.5 if I tried. So, and no match for the robots. I'll tell you that right now. Yeah, they're able to fulfill orders in 3 minutes or less, and you order on the app or at a kiosk on site. And the idea is for Sweetgreen to incorporate this technology into their existing restaurants to help them scale moving forward. I think that we're at an interesting sort of inflection point with regard to restaurants. Obviously, throughout the pandemic, they really struggled due to mandated closures and just general reticence of dining out or going out to eat and things like that. And they've been doing a lot better as these restrictions have lifted. But now we're seeing, and I think we discussed this on an episode a few weeks ago, is the labor shortages, especially in the food and beverage industry. Right now, unemployment in the restaurant industry is at 8.4%, which is 3 percentage points higher than the US average of 5.4%. So clearly these restaurants are having trouble finding people to come back and to help them deal with all of the pent-up demand that they've been seeing from everyone who was at home throughout the pandemic and wasn't really dining out as much. And so ordinarily, this is something I would critique. Again, I think I've been making it clear I am not, I won't say I'm anti-robot, I'd say I'm pro-human. So something like this might, give me a little bit of stress, but right now it looks like it's a necessity, right? It looks like there's a big dearth of people who want to work in these restaurants, these fast casual restaurants. And if automation is the answer to, keep these businesses alive, then I think it's a good idea. I have to say I'm more or less familiar with this sort of idea. I've never heard of Spice prior to this announcement that came out yesterday. But there was a location or a restaurant near our office at 330 Madison in New York called Itza. Which was a similar sort of idea. I know, James, you said you're familiar with Itza. I never actually went there because I just could not wrap my head around the robotic aspect. I mean, I don't know. I'm just coming off as like a robot phobic person, but I could not wrap my head around that. So I never actually went. But James, I know, have you been to Itza before?
I have. And it's interesting because Itza and Spice are actually yin and yang. So I'll explain. Itza is the front of the house is fully automated. You order on a kiosk or you order an app, you go there and there's these little boxes built into the wall. There's no humans and your name comes up and you touch a box, I think, and the door opens and your food's inside. The back of the house, the kitchen, is still all humans. And then Spice, I don't know how the ordering works, but Spice, as you described, the cooking is all automated. And I've seen videos. It's SPYCE, right?
Yep, exactly.
If you're watching this, Google that just to see a quick video. It's like a hot wok that spins, that cooks it, and kind of feeds ingredients into it to make these bowls that Ebere was describing. So I guess if you took Itza and combined it with Spice, you'd have a fully automated restaurant.
Yeah, which is probably where they're trending, honestly. That's the plan, the expansion plan that the robots already have in place. But have you eaten at Itza or Spice? Have you tasted the food there?
I've eaten at Itza. It was fine. Itza pivoted and now they're trying to sell their technology to other restaurants. So, maybe like a Taco Bell could open up a location that has no front of house and it's just all automated. The food was fine. The experience is transactional. It's like lunch business, in fact, that's the location I was at, was in Financial District in San Francisco. It's just like, there's no humans. So also, if I have questions about the food, I'm with you. Like I love technology, but only in the aid of humanity,
Yes, I do agree.
I like that caveat as well. I think for me, Itza never really caught on just because I didn't have any familiarity with the food or the company at all. And I think that on the contrary, for Sweetgreen, this might be a really big advantage for them, because I already love Sweetgreen, and if they're able to give me the same quality of ingredients, the same preparation of the bowl, but on their end they're able to do it a lot faster and maybe for a lot cheaper, then I can only see this being a success for them. So I mean, more to come. The deal is set to close in the third quarter of this year, so thus far it's just an announced acquisition, but it's definitely exciting. And I think, again, it's sort of in line with a lot of these different automation trends we've been seeing in the restaurant space. California Pizza Kitchen right now is testing out a robot dining room situation. We talked about, I saw an article about it when I was preparing for this. It's apparently that's one of the other new examples is they're going to have like a robot waiter more or less going around the dining room giving food. So I've said enough about robots and where I stand with them, but I guess we'll see how this works for Sweetgreen going forward. But so until then, James, tell me, what else do you know about retail?
Oh, it's time for the third thing that we know about retail, and we're going to talk about back to school. Keisha, you've just recently published our new back to school report that's based on our annual survey.
That's right.
And I was I was just thinking, I'd sent Ebere a message the other day, and I said, "Can you talk about BTS and some meeting?" And he's like, "BTS," and I'm like, "Yes, not the Korean pop group, but
No.
back to school is what we're talking about here."
Totally.
I'm going to assume you're talking about school supplies and not anything else.
Yeah. So Keisha, tell me a little bit about the logistics of this. How many shoppers did we survey?
Okay, we surveyed 1,012 parents this year.
Oh, specifically parents, of course. You got to be a parent to be doing back to school.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, tell me about what's your biggest takeaway this year? What were you like, oh, wow, that's interesting?
Well, our number one takeaway this year, probably not a huge surprise, but parents are spending more this year, 21.4% more, in fact. I think the degree is surprising, but coming out of COVID, heading into a year where more people are getting vaccinated, we're feeling the consumer confidence escalate as, people head back to retail and restaurants, thank heavens. It's definitely reflective of that, reflective of the upward trajectory of the economy and retail sales in general. Now, what parents are actually buying is also not a shock, but still interesting. They're buying more clothing and shoes than last year. Why? Because more than 3/4 of students are going to be attending full-time in person this year compared to last year, which was like the exact opposite, where most people were doing virtual. So definitely more clothing and shoes, more stationery, more personal safety products as well, for sure. Get those masks on and hand sanitizers. But interestingly, although a secondary point, some parents are actually buying more electronics and home office supplies this year, maybe about 1/4. It's driven by the dads, so maybe not a huge surprise, but it's definitely interesting that that's still more of an investment this year for some people than last year where everybody was home. So
overall, the clearly this is the big takeaway. Overall, back to school budgets are more than 20% higher.
Yeah. More than
they
20%.
were last year.
Wow.
Last year, it was like they were spending more on electronics, but wow.
Yeah.
This is great. Well, yeah, clearly it is going back to the physical school that's driving that. Mm-hmm. What are you seeing as far as like where they're shopping? Did you get any sense of that?
Parents are definitely heading more to open air centers and malls than last year. We saw a 10 percentage point jump in the number of parents who last year were going to malls and this year feel comfortable enough to go to malls and open air centers. Online delivery, online orders and delivery still up a little bit, but definitely only like 1 or 2 percentage points. I mean, the real big deal is, yes, we are definitely going into stores. And I personally can talk about that for the first time in like forever. I went for my kindergartners shopping, back to school supplies. I headed to my local Walmart and I'm like, yeah, it's going to be easier than ordering online and waiting for it to get here. Oh my goodness. I think everybody else had the exact same idea because I was panicked when I saw just empty shelves. Wow. What is happening here? I thought this would be easier. But I did manage to salvage most of the stuff on our shopping list I managed to get. Still had to order a couple things online, but just to show you that this is just, it's a trend that's definitely happening. People are heading to stores to get their back to school shopping lists crossed off.
Keisha, can I ask you, is there any like outlandish or like ridiculous item that your daughter demanded to have for school? Because I know for myself, at least, when I used to see the, supply list, that was the most exciting time of the summer, was getting to go back and get those new supplies. And I wasn't that, interesting of a child, honestly, so I didn't really crazy like that. But I'm curious if your daughter had any, interesting thing that she said she needed in order to be, the top student this year.
Oh, you know what? Not this year, but I think we went really all out last year because she was just starting private school pre-K, and so we did the whole unicorn backpack, and I think she was satisfied by that. So nothing crazy this year.
That's gorgeous. I'm sure the backpack still works for this year, so she'll still be rocking it.
It does. Thankfully.
That's awesome.
So I know, Keisha, one of the questions that I think was new this year is we asked people like where they found out about stuff to buy? You know, was it, what
Mhm.
did you ask? You said TikTok, was it Instagram?
Yeah, like where did they get their inspiration for back to school shopping, right? So we figured that, the social medias were really gonna take over and it'd be the big thing, but that really wasn't the case. In-store shopping, 61% of parents went in store to browse for back to school shopping, which I found really, really not just remarkable, but it just felt good. And I totally, totally agree, particularly when you're buying stuff like clothes and shoes for your kids. I mean, I can't wait to go back to retail in South Florida and pick up shoes for her at the Children's Place or Carter's, because buying shoes for kids online is a harrowing experience because chances are you're going to have to send it back because it's going to be the wrong size. Their feet are going to grow by the time they get their order. So it was definitely big, 61%. I mean, it was so much more than the other categories. 28% of parents said they, relied on television for like social media accounts, sites like Instagram, Facebook. It was like, hovering around 23%, 20%. So really interesting that in-store shopping just ruled for, browsing and getting inspiration. Totally get it.
Well, it's going to be interesting too. It's just around the corner. We were already talking about the holidays, but the next thing you're doing on your to-do list is going to be our holiday shopper survey.
For sure.
Is your expectation that sort of the trends that you're seeing in back to school are going to translate to the holidays?
Absolutely. 100%. I mean, even just from personal experience, I'm trying to decide now with all these new, news about, Disney in store and Toys R Us in store. Do I go with my child or without? Which is safer, but regardless, it's going to be a fun experience doing holiday shopping this year. Masks on, probably, but, definitely in store.
Yeah, that's great. Well, we'll have you back when that survey, when those survey results come in, or maybe even sooner. You're always researching something interesting. But Keisha, are you ready? Are you ready for the retail challenge?
I think I am.
All right. Well, let's get into it. Our unsuspecting guests are usually shanghaied into playing the retail challenge, where you usually play against Ebere with some silly questions I made up this morning. We're going to do 3 questions. Whoever gets the most correct is going to win today's retail challenge. Let's limber up. Keisha, you ready?
I got to get some brain juice in first.
Okay. Ebere, you ready? Fingers.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, get the jaw ready. Keisha, what are you drinking? Is that...
it's like a raw juice kind of lemon with, cayenne, and,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Cayenne, you're ready
spicy.
to go.
Yeah, I'm really ready. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Awesome. So let's get into it. We were talking about Toys R Us, and it got me to thinking about the old school Toys R Us flagship in Times Square that is no more, that many kids were a fan of visiting. It was a big tourist attraction. It had lots of big displays. Like, for example, it had Superman hanging from the ceiling and a bunch of other stuff like that. So the flagship was 4 levels. It was over 100,000 square feet. I'm going to tell you 3 things about the flagship, and one of them is not true. So tell me which thing is not true, and you'll be a winner. So the first thing is the flagship had a 60-foot indoor Ferris wheel. The second thing, the flagship had a 20-foot tall robotic Jeffrey the giraffe. And the third thing is it had a 4,000 square foot Barbie dollhouse that you could walk through. So Ferris wheel, giant giraffe, or walk-in Barbie dollhouse. Which thing was not actually at the Times Square Toys R Us flagship? Keisha, you're our guest, so I'm going to let you go first.
I'm going to go with the Ferris wheel.
Okay,
I totally believe in the Barbie dollhouse and the giraffe for sure.
Okay, so you're saying it did not have a Ferris wheel?
No Ferris wheel.
Okay, Ebere, what do you say?
I'm just to the Ferris wheel as well. That seems like way too big of a liability for a store that probably saw millions of people per year. I doubt they wanted to go through that, so I'm going to go Ferris wheel as well.
Actually, the one I made up was the giant Jeffrey giraffe. In fact, they had a giant T-Rex,
wow.
animated T-Rex, Jurassic
Wow.
Park. They did have a big
Interesting.
old Ferris wheel in the lobby,
Interesting.
and a big walk through 4,000 square foot Barbie dream house. So good guess, guys. But you're both 0 for 0. So
Well,
Well, I mean, let's hope we do better on the
yeah.
next two.
Come on.
all right. So we talked about Glossier a couple of weeks ago, how they're going to be opening up 3 new flagships. The first one just opened. It's in Seattle in the Capitol Hill district. It's quite a location. Let me pull up their Instagram account here so you can see. This is some video they released on opening day. It's got sort of an ice cream shop pink color scheme. It's over 6,000 square feet. They've got an LA location that's going to be coming next in the fall, and then in the winter, their London location is going to be coming. So the design, beyond just that pink that you see everywhere, they also have this design that's inspired by the Pacific Northwest. So it's this theme around fungi and rocks and mushrooms. So this big old fungus mountain is in the middle of the store. The design team said they chose mushrooms because mushrooms have the ability to thrive in unlikely places. So guys, why is it that mushrooms can thrive in unlikely places? I'm going to give you 3 reasons. You tell me which one is true. Is it 1, they disperse via wind-blown spores? Is it 2, they appear via spontaneous generation? Or is it 3, they are magical? And we will never understand the mystery of the mushroom. So how do mushrooms get everywhere? Is it spores, spontaneous generation, or magic? And Keisha, I'll let you go first.
Well, I'd like to believe it's magic. I'm going to go with spores.
Ebere, what do you got?
I'm embarrassed because I'm a bio major, and so when you started talking, I was like, I'm gonna get this, and I have no clue. So, spontaneous generation sounds like a term I might have heard before. I know mushrooms are like, they come up like they're like scavengers almost, right, on other organisms. So, I'm gonna guess it's that spontaneous generation.
All right. Well, Keisha, you're right. It is actually spores. Ebere, probably the reason why you heard about spontaneous generation is it was a big hot theory that's now been completely discredited. That's why I threw it in, because I knew it was like, I remember.
Yeah, it sounds pretty great.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to send my degree back because I don't know anything about biology. But anyway,
no, you certainly studied it.
I did.
Yeah, because spontaneous generation was definitely a thing that people talked about. All right, so after two questions, Keisha has 1 point. Ebere, you've got how many points?
None, Graham. You knew that.
I did. I was kind of being a jerk.
Yeah, boy.
Okay, so guys, we talked about Target. As a part of their latest press release saying they're going to open up these new Disney stores, they also released a list of their top toys for 2021. And among their top toys for 2021 was the Orbeez. It was one of the things on the list. And what I thought was interesting is when I saw it, I was like, what is this? So guys, here's your question without Googling it. What does the Orbeez do? What is the purpose of this thing? And Ebere, I know you're gonna have a good guess. Tell me. I'm gonna let you go first. What do you think it is?
You know what? A friend of mine's little siblings actually have one of these.
Okay. Then you hold off. I want to see if Keisha can get it. Maybe Keisha knows.
Isn't it some sort of sensory stimulation where it's like almost like a liquid but solid with all those beads in it or something? That's my guess.
Okay, Ebere, what is it?
I think it's for like little baby pedicures.
Like a pedicure set for kids.
No. Okay, totally off.
Yeah. The Orbeez Ultimate Soothing Spa
Sure.
quote, comes with everything you need to give yourself and your besties the pedicure of your dreams.
Wow.
It retails for $29.99.
Oh my
Me
god.
and my besties got to link up for a pedicure.
I just randomly opened their list with this announcement, and the first thing I see is this like container of beads, and I'm just like, I have no idea what this is. What is this for?
I cannot let my daughter see that. I just can't. Just
Keisha, it was a mess.
I
The
have
little
beads
beads were-
everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were
Mm.
everywhere. There's no way to contain them. I don't know what kind of idea that was to give children little tiny little things. I feel like it's just a hazard. But I guess they're small. You probably can't choke on them, but still, they were everywhere. So yeah, keep that away from your daughter for sure.
All right. Well, that was our final question. I lost track. What are our points at this point? 1-1?
We tied.
Wow.
Yeah, 1-1.
Virtual
Oh my
high five,
gosh.
Ebere.
Well, I
Right.
guess today you're both winners of the retail challenge.
That's awesome.
That makes me
We should think about, there's so many things we say we're going to do on air and then I never do them. One of them is we're going to have like some kind of prize or something that we give people or some kind of animation. Eventually we'll figure that out. Another thing is we need to come up with a tiebreaker for when there's a tie, but
I know. Maybe we do a lightning round next time, just to see who can emerge victorious.
Yeah.
but you guys, you're both winners today. So I'm very
I love
proud.
that.
I'm very proud of you both. And so Keisha, thank you so much for joining us today.
It was
And
a real
we'll have you
pleasure.
back very soon.
Can't wait. All right.
All
guys.
right. We'll talk later.
Thanks, Keisha.
So Ebere, I just want to remind everybody out there to check out the Where We Buy podcast. This is kind of a fun newsy show, but we do in-depth interviews every week. Just search for Where We Buy on whatever podcast app you use, or you can check us out on the web at wherewebuy.show.
Yes, and also be sure to hit the subscribe button on YouTube and click on the little bell icon so that you're notified when new shows come out every week. Or you can follow the JLO retail page on LinkedIn, where a new episode will be posted every Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern at everythingweknow.show.
Yeah, and if you follow along on LinkedIn, I think there's a growing number of people who are kind of watching that on LinkedIn. And I think that's a great place to gather because that's really where we're on YouTube as well. But I really think that the following JLL retail on LinkedIn is the way to go because that's kind of where our retail/retail real estate community really kind of congregates.
Were there any comments this week, James? I don't know if we checked the comments.
Well, the problem with the comments is because it's on LinkedIn, this is something we're going to have to figure out. There's a delay. So if there are comments, usually we don't see them until
After.
until after the show. I've been monitoring and I haven't seen any come through.
Okay.
But Ebere, real quick, what else do you know about retail?
James, I have to tell you next week.